Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. If you're not in a long line fighting over a $199 flat screen or a $79 smartwatch, you must have forgot that it's Black Friday. So do your patriotic duty and go spend money you don't have on things you don't need. America. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh, Chad, I love the celebration of consumerism. It starts the day after the one holiday in which I enjoy that has almost nothing to do with consumerism except for consumerism of large quantities of food, and that is Thanksgiving. It is Black Friday. Chad, I don't know if you've ever actually been Black Friday shopping. I went one time in 2010, and it was the most pandemonious, sacrilegious, sanctimonious because of the fucking people that were trying to get their hands on a scooter for $6 less than they would get it for on a normal day. Never again. And what you don't realize, if you've never been Black Friday shopping, you think you can just get your stuff and go in line. No, friends. That's when you get into a separate, now taped off line, which makes you feel like you're being herded to your eventual death, which you will be because it's called death by credit card. As you get buried in financial, as you get buried in your financial improprieties. And for what it's worth, happy Thanksgiving and happy Black Friday. Hi, Chad.
Yeah. I have not actually went shopping, but I have covered it when I was at a radio station. And I can't remember. I was in Vegas, and I want to say it was like at a Target or it was at a Walmart or something. And I don't remember what the item was, but there was a line. And I was there at like 5 a.m, you know, because we were on at 6 a.m.
Sure.
And I was there in line asking people, you know, stupid questions. Like, why are you in line for this piece of crap? I think it was like I don't know if it was an Xbox or some kind of electronic. It was the big item of the year.
Sure.
And I swear to God, there was 100 people, 150, 200 people in line.
Well, and that used to be, I think, even more of a thing. I'm not sure, to be fair, what exactly Black Friday is now. When you go to a shopping location, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were going back and forth on Black Friday. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to a mall. I'm not exactly planning on stopping by Blaine's Farm and Fleet today. I've got no real designs to go shopping. I just don't know what that looks like anymore because of what we do online. We buy everything online now. I mean, not just you and I, but the nation at large buys everything online. So I don't know what this looks like when you go out to a store. I'm assuming it's still busy. I mean, correct me if you think this is wrong, but I don't know what that would be exactly compared to 10, 12 years ago when we were doing that very same thing. I just don't know what it would be.
I don't know either. I did some Black Friday shopping last night online, and
sure,
I took my fiat money and I bought some real money.
Did you really? Good for
I have
you.
some silver coming my way. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. So
let me ask you, would you be interested in buying any of my bullion? Because it seems like we're going to be divesting ourselves of some of this bullion. Would you be interested in paying near spot price for some of mine? If so, we can.
Are you getting why are you getting rid of real money for fake money? What do you need, cash flow?
Well, no, this is called divide and conquer, and we don't need to go into exact specifics on why we're doing what we're doing. But if you're interested, we can talk about this. Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, we'll have that thing on a DM. And if you're waking up this morning and, joining us here on the Sports Carnival, happy Thanksgiving. Really, really, really happy Thanksgiving to every single one of you. Chad, I posted on our Facebook group page yesterday for you and our sponsors from me. Happy Thanksgiving. We've got a slide that I want to put up here really early this morning because this shows you a little bit of what I was doing yesterday while we were watching some really exciting NFL football, which, Joey, you're right. Yesterday's games were great. Not good, but great. And as a matter of fact, that is the subject, Joey, of this morning's poll question. When you climb our poll at the Sports Carney on Twitter or on our Facebook group page, I'm asking you what you thought was the best NFL football game from yesterday because it was a great slate. But Chad, Thanksgiving at the Breachers, a very Breacher Thanksgiving, was fantastic. Jason P1 Breacher has a hobby farm. I want to say this is about 7 acres with multiple horses now. He's also got a mini mule. I thought it was a mini donkey. So the rumors of it being named Little Sebastian, well, he's hiding. Yeah, you can know that he's hiding behind maybe that is
right here. Right here.
That's a baby horse because Jason he bought this horse and neither did the person that sold it to him, that it was +1, that it was pregnant because you can price that thing up. If you've got a pregnant horse, that just became worth
Sure.
more than just an Arby's sandwich, right? I mean, like, nobody's taking a trip to the
What if
glue
you have a
factory.
pregnant whore? If you have a pregnant whore, that's a different problem.
It's a real problem in about 14 states in this country right now. I can tell you that. You got a pregnant whore if you're on the whew, man, you've got a real problem there.
I see some mewing has been happening here with your
Yes,
son.
that's John and his mew face.
Look at that chin. Nice work, John. That's
very
awesome.
well defined, right? Very well defined. John's chin, very well defined. My mother's Cindy, pictured here just above the pie, because there were not one, not two, not three, but 6 incredible pies plus a cobbler at Jason's house yesterday. The piece of ham that he ended up serving to us, which was unbelievable, double smoked, I want to say, from the Holman Meat Locker. It makes you want to touch yourself. It really does. Like, there are a few experiences in life where you're like, okay, all right, I want to touch myself right now. And that was one of them. A video of which, Chad, is actually on our TikTok page, our Instagram page, and our Facebook page at the Sports Carney across the board. But thank you so much, Breacher, Stacy, the entire Breacher family, for hosting us. It was a fantastic time. And Chad, you know, that's one of the things that I just love about Thanksgiving as opposed to Christmas. Not that I don't enjoy Christmas, but Thanksgiving's just about getting together, yucking it up, having 2 or 3 more adult beverages than you probably should, and 85,000 calories more than you ever plan to consume. As a matter of fact, that's all I ate yesterday. Like, I went to Jason's, I ate during that time. I came home, hibernated in my bed, watched football, watched an interesting movie on HBO called That's All Right, Darling. And other than that, it was complete.
Okay.
States of catatonicness.
Well, I did the same thing, did a lot of eating. I didn't watch as much football because I was helping my mom cook the whole time. So I was off and on with football, but I did the game I thought was going to be the best game was the best game, which was the late game, the Minnesota Patriot game.
It was high scoring. I don't know if it was the best, but it was the highest scoring.
It was the best game. That was the best game by far, in my opinion. It was back and forth. I like a back and forth. I like a heavyweight bout. So I watched that. And then I did do a little bit of work this weekend, which we will be playing here shortly.
Interesting. Well, why don't we do this? Because we've got to get ourselves ready to go for a weekend ahead. I see Terry Saltzman is talking to us about a little wager that he made yesterday. As a matter of fact, Chad, we're going to be talking a lot more about wagers here on the program. Coming up next, though, let's recap those NFL football games from yesterday, talk a little Bucks basketball from Wednesday. I'm Davies Chad. This is the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios.
What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Hello, I am Don Francisco, and I roast and blend coffees for your pleasure and mine. My newest blend is Vanilla Nuts. The coffee so rich and so sweet, it tastes like the French Alps has dangled its in your cup of java. If you love coffee like I do, then you'll love Don Francisco's with a 135-year tradition. Because at Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we.
Yes, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the one and only Sports Carnival. Whether it's the too much tryptophan, too much tequila, either way, I need a nap and a shot of gravy. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh, Chad, you're just a scholar, a gentleman, a genius, and cherub all wrapped in one. That's so fun. I love this. Marengo Mike says, morning, guys. It's Bloody Mary time. And boy, I think Bloody Mary time with the side of Don Francisco's. That's a good call. Would you be able to take Don Francisco's and enjoy it with some Baileys? Is that something you would do, or is that something that just I would do?
No, I think that's actually a good idea. It'd probably make Don Francisco's taste a hell of a lot better.
Man, Don Francisco's, if you're up all night, so are we, Chad. I remember one time, and this was several years ago now, five and a half some years ago. I was playing the shit out of the Don Francisco spots because we were just building up our catalog of newer kind of SNL type faux spots, right? Spoof spots. And I remember getting, I wouldn't say a talking to, but talk to about that. because I was also running the logs at this particular broadcast network that I worked in. And I would just slip that fucker into every single break I could, because I mean, you could drive a truck through the amount of inventory that was there, right? So I would put Don Francisco's on all the time. And there was a little conversation like, they had some people confused about this Don Francisco's and exactly what they're promoting. Can you stop running this in the middle of regular stop sets? Like, and if you do put it in there, you need to tag it with "this is just a joke." And I thought about that for a minute. I really did, about doing all of that. I completely kept up with my shenanigans. But at the same time, there was a conversation like, we're hearing this a little too much, and we're not sure what exactly Don Francisco's is promoting.
They actually thought it was a real spot.
Listen, we're not talking about the highest level thinkers. Okay?
Geniuses here, huh?
No, this isn't like we're going to, I don't know, SpaceX or something and asking these dudes how we're going to be operating on the moon. But, it was fun, and it was funny.
Well,
and
let me just, I can see the confusion. Don Francisco's is
it's real coffee. Yes.
Okay. And I used to drink it at home and enjoy other things. And I got motivated. I got inspired, and I decided to put that together. So it is real. I mean, it is a real product.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't have anything to do with it.
No.
In fact, I'm sure if they see it, they probably wouldn't be that happy. I don't know. It's It's not flattering. I mean, I like the coffee.
Well, I think that when you get to put the words testicles, Don Ho, and vanilla nut together in any sort of form or fashion, 30 seconds or less, you've hit on something. I don't know that you could be mad at it if you're Don Francisco's. As a matter of fact, it's called free promotion. If people want to do this, and I'm fully advocating for this. If people want to put together spoof spots for us, run them on broadcast networks or your own Rob Dog Sports Brief, please feel free to do so. We're not going to be mad at you at all. Like, you can have at that.
No, absolutely. I think that would be very flattering.
Me too.
The Don Ho you're referencing is the Hawaiian blend. That's another
that's spot. Right. That's right. It's like if you gotcha, dangled
your
testicles into the French Alps. Yes.
It's the same joke rehashed, but
it's okay. That's all right. When we get into the longer form of Don Francisco's and a little bit of Soylent Green integration, then we've got some more splaining to do, which, by the way, this whole mansplaining thing that you said that I do once in a while, that sort of it caught some traction. And so we're okay with it. Again, one of these things where, if it doesn't get you completely canceled, it's probably okay. And we can keep going with it. Ask Dave Chappelle, right? Just ask Dave Chappelle. If it doesn't cancel you, you get to work it all, just keep working it out. And I think that maybe for guys like me named Dave, we've got a bigger and a better pass. I don't know if it's because it's the most trusted name in the history of the world or not, but it has something to do with that, I think.
It could be. Dave does get a pass. Dave Chappelle, I mean.
He does.
Which he should, because he's a comedian. And
he's funny.
If you're watching a comedian and you're offended by something that they say, then you shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's what you're there for. You're there to suspend all of your stupid beliefs and all of your virtuous bullshit, and you're just supposed to enjoy and laugh and disengage for a while from the matrix that we live in. That's what comedians are there to do, is to make you forget about how much life sucks, and maybe shine a little light on how shitty their life is or somebody else's is. That's what comedians do. So if you're at a comedy show and you're offended, you shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Speaking of comedy, this is something I just thought of as you're talking about it now, Chad. There's going to be a big comedy show tonight at a friend of mine's place, the Event Above Main, or the Event on Main, excuse me, the Main Event Space, downtown La Crosse. I think it's a $10 cover charge, 2 comedians tonight. Even if it's bad comedy, it's kind of like bad pizza. Even if it's bad comedy, it's still okay. So check that out, $10. Chad, while I'm setting up our poll question, would you do me a favor and bring up the little graphic we've got that shows us yesterday's NFL action, talks a little bit about the Bucs. We've got a poll question here on our Twitter feed as well as our Facebook group page, and it's asking our audience members what the most exciting of the 3 NFL games was yesterday to them. You've already called it Patriots Vikings. Right now, that's getting 53.8% of the votes on our Twitter feed. Lions Bills getting the rest at 46.2%.
Yeah,
not a single vote in here yet for the Cowboys and the Giants. I mean, I can understand why you would say for sure it was the Patriots and the Bills. The Patriots and the Vikings. That thing went back and forth. And boy, Kirk Cousins had himself a day. But I got to go to the first game. For me, it was the Lions and it was the Bills, because that Lions team, being coached by Dan Campbell now, they're not in a position they're punching up every single week. They are punching up. They're not that far off from being a division champion, or at least a contender for a division champion chip in the NFC North, which I know Packer fans do not want to hear about. But that Lions team really impressed me. And Chad, this is another instance in which NFL football, much like life itself, comes down to a game of inches. That Buffalo-Detroit game was a game of inches. The Vikings and the Cowboys, or excuse me, the Patriots. I keep saying Vikings, Cowboys. The Vikings-Patriots game, though, that had probably more implications for both teams than any of the other games this week. The Giants and the Cowboys definitely had divisional aspirations between the two. But Minnesota got real close to locking up the NFC North yesterday. And if Buffalo wouldn't have beaten Detroit and say the Patriots beat the Vikings, you would have had a complete flip over in the AFC East as well, with Buffalo taking a back seat and the Patriots catapulting up to the top of that division. So that game did have the most implications. What were you most surprised about, though, with the Vikings and the Patriots? Because I've got my biggest surprise. But to you, what were you most surprised about in that game?
I actually wasn't really surprised by anything, but I was impressed, and I keep becoming more impressed by Justin Jefferson. I was watching that last night.
Damn, he's awesome.
I was watching that last night thinking to myself, I'll bet you there's other quarterbacks, not other quarterbacks like I'm a quarterback. There's quarterbacks in the league right now that aren't playing, that just enjoyed a meal with their family like I have, and they're watching this game going, God damn, I wish I had Justin Jefferson on my team. I would love to be throwing to that guy. He kind of briefly, and I understand because the relationship of this guy that I'm going to mention used to be on the Vikings. He kind of reminds you just a smidge of Randy Moss. There's a couple of motions that he did.
Oh, huge.
The way he catches the ball, and sometimes the way he celebrates, and just his attitude and his energy. Kirk Cousins has got to be thrilled with this guy. To be able to chuck it up to this guy, it makes every quarterback look that much better. And as you mentioned, Cousins had a pretty good game, other than I think he did throw one interception, if I remember right.
Let me see. I don't remember if he threw a pick or not, but even
still,
he
did. Maybe he didn't.
He very well might have, though. I know he threw 3 touchdowns, which was the first time this season that he had thrown 3 touchdowns. Let me get that box score back up here.
The other thing that I was reflecting on,
he did have that pick.
How big of a get it was for them to get Hawkinson from Detroit Lions. That was a brilliant move.
Huge.
He was huge last night as well. So,
well, TJ Hawkinson, 5 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown last night was one of those trades when he went to Minnesota that, as a Packer fan and as somebody that, you were just kind of an observer of Packer fans, we looked at each other and we kind of cringed, because that seemed like a gettable piece. The Vikings didn't have to give up the house to go get TJ Hawkinson. I mean, they gave up some decent stuff. But what is one thing that the Packers really struggle with? The pass game at the tight end position. They tried to bring in Jimmy Graham years ago to be able to fix that. It didn't work at all. So that was a huge move. I agree. The thing that surprised me the most about this game, and I'll say there's a surprise, and then there's something that's only happened 2 other times in Bill Belichick's career. But the thing that surprised me the most was both the Vikings and the Cowboys, or the Patriots, were coming off games in which, Chad, they scored 3 offensive points apiece, right? Like the Patriots beat the Jets last week off of a return for a touchdown. The offense scored 3 points, and the Vikings couldn't even stay on the field with the Dallas Cowboys,
right,
putting up just 3 points. So that was a big surprise that the 2 lowest scoring teams from the week prior had the highest point total of an NFL Thanksgiving game. You would have thought, at least anecdotally, that would have been more of a knockdown, drag out sort of a defensive battle. But here's the other thing that I'm sure Bill Belichick is stewing on right now, and Minnesota Viking fans have to feel really good about, because Kirk Cousins did throw that pick. I saw that. But Kirk Cousins was 34-37, 81.5% completion percentage. Did you know that is the second highest passing percentage, completion-wise, that Bill Belichick has ever allowed in his entire coaching career? The highest was in 2008. Don't know who the QB was, but it was against the Dolphins, and he allowed about 85% completion percentage. And then in 2000, against the Bears, there was a quarterback that completed 81.4%. So Bill Belichick, as a defensive coach, a defensive schemer, he's got to be absolutely livid with how the game went yesterday for Kirk Cousins, despite that pick. The Justin Jefferson take, though, that you made, that's not sneaking up on anybody. This dude, by the way, yesterday just surpassed Randy Moss for the most yards caught in the first 3 seasons of an NFL career. And Justin Jefferson, he gets more games than Randy Moss got, right? He gets 17 games now.
Yeah.
As opposed to what Randy Moss got. I think this guy, as long as he doesn't get injured, Justin Jefferson, that is, he's going to end up being one of those rare wide receivers that may get into the area of threatening Jerry Rice. I still don't know if that's a record that'll ever be broken, Rice's receiving yards, but Justin Jefferson's like one of those guys that may get into that conversation.
Way too early to say that, obviously, but definitely his skill set, he's very capable of it. And as you mentioned, if he doesn't get injured, and he's paired with a good quarterback for most of his career, I think that's definitely a possibility. The other thing that didn't surprise me but thrilled me yesterday is to watch Bill Belichick lose on Thanksgiving. That makes me tingle a little bit.
That warms.
I don't know about anybody else. I'm not a huge fan of Bill Belichick. I think he's kind of a douchebag. Great coach, but a douchebag. And I don't know, did he kind of mismanage at the end there with timeouts?
Yes.
I thought that was that. If I go back to your original question, what surprised me? Now that I'm reflecting, that surprised me. Guy's number 2 to Don Shula on all-time wins list, and he mismanaged the last 2 minutes. That's the part where coach shines.
That's a really good take. And one of the things that I got a little bit overcome with at the end of the game, that I didn't think about the clock management as much as I should have, which now that you're bringing it up, it definitely stands out. It's that third down play where Mac Jones gets sacked, right? And then they have to go for it on 4th and 16. Beautiful. But that third down play was a really poor play design by the Patriots there, right? They didn't protect him nearly enough. They didn't have what they needed in there. And when you take that sack, you put yourself in that position. They were 3rd and 7. It went 4th and 16. That was it, right? And Mac Jones is a limited quarterback anyways. Like, I don't think Mac Jones ever gets better than what he was coming out of college.
He actually played pretty well yesterday, though, overall, I thought.
He did, but it looks almost like window dressing for me with Mac Jones, because when you really need the guy to make the plays, he just doesn't feel like the dude that's going to do it. That I digress. The clock management that you mentioned there, that really was something to look at. But the third down call, I just thought that was kind of a blunder there by the Patriots.
Yeah, again, watching Bill Belichick not only lose but mismanage the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I'm truly thankful for.
Well, good. And Bill's probably cutting up a sweater right now in dismay, just like, fuck this shit.
Their special teams was atrocious yesterday, and Jason Garrett kept mentioning, he's like, I would not want to be in that meeting on Monday. No, that's going to be a brutal meeting for a bunch of these guys.
Let me ask you this. Jason Garrett, he first started doing calls, I want to say it was with the USFL. And the first game that I heard, I was like, whoa, this guy's really good. What do you think about him on NFL games? I think I really like Jason Garrett. I like his tenor. I like his tone. I like his explanations. I think he fits really well in that booth.
I'm just amazed at how many ex-Cowboys do so well in the booth, whether it's Moose Johnson or Troy Aikman or Tony Romo or Jason Garrett. Now, I don't necessarily like all of those guys. I think Troy Aikman's a smug asshole, but he does do a good job. I mean, he is good at what he does. Tony Romo, I know he does the woo thing that
he's fantastic.
Don't like, but he's awesome. I think Garrett's great too. And if you go way back, Don Meredith back in the day on Monday Night Football, I don't know what it is, but Cowboys have the best personality somehow when it comes to broadcasting.
See, I see that you're leaving out Cowboy wide receiver who's on the NFL Network. Gosh, now I'm like totally
Michael
spacing.
Irvin?
Yeah, Michael Irvin. He's over on the NFL
he's not calling games though. He's not actually.
No, but he's in broadcasting.
And he does a good job too. But I'm talking about in the booth, calling the game. All of those names I just mentioned all do a really, really good job.
That's fair.
With their analysis and their back and forth with whoever the main guy is. I think all of those guys do a great job.
No, that's fair. I think that's a really good point. And yeah, if you're a Packer fan, you fucking hate that. You're like, wait a second, what? Why couldn't we get somebody on? Well, Brett Favre tried, but he couldn't pass the test. I mean, literally, Brett Favre went through multiple staged interviews where he was given an opportunity to call games. He couldn't process the information quick enough. He just couldn't, not to be able to regurgitate it and get it back out.
I remember Joe Montana is my favorite guy of all time. Joe Montana and Walter Payton, my two favorite football players of all time. Joe Montana was horrible in the booth. It was the same thing. I think up until Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl, was the greatest quarterback of all times. Obviously able to handle all kinds of pressure and process information. I would imagine Favre the same thing. If you're a professional quarterback and you're that good as both of those guys were, you would think they'd be able to translate and do that in the booth, and it just didn't work. It's a different skill set. Not everybody has. It's interesting, though.
It is. And there's a personality element that goes into that as well. That is something that you can't really teach. I like that we've got the picture of Josh Allen up here, because Josh Allen, for my fantasy purposes yesterday, was great, but he has a commercial in which he kind of pokes fun at that. He's terrible on camera. And they show him trying to like get his future broadcasting career going. And he's like looking at a mirror and trying to be a broadcaster. It's really funny. Before we take this down, Bucks losing to the Bulls 118-113 on Wednesday night. Bit of a surprise. That was a game in which, look, the Bucks looked like they had late, but Nikola Vucevic and this Bulls team, they're starting to think
a good game too.
Dude, they're starting to figure this thing out, right? Like they really are. They're starting to figure this thing out. So for Milwaukee fans, the Bucks are back in action tonight. We get a little Thanksgiving. We get to wash away the loss, the taste of that loss in our mouth on Wednesday night. Cavs, 7 p.m., Bally Sports and Bally Sports Plus. Yesterday, we also saw a really, really tough Badgers team almost get the best of a number 3 ranked Kansas team, Chad. Badgers losing in the, what was it? That's the middle of the Bahamas Invitational or whatever, by just a single point. Really wild finish there for that Badger game. But back to this Bucks team. They're back in action tonight versus Cleveland again, 7:00. And I just want to remind everybody to stop by the recovery room. And maybe you're going to do it during lunch. Maybe you'll do it during dinner. But stop by the recovery room and order yourself an Absolute or Jameson shot or cocktail. Get yourself a ticket, a slip into the running for those Bucks and Kings tickets on December the 7th, next Wednesday. So less than a week away. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a huge party at the recovery room where we will find out who won these Bucks tickets. And then on Thursday morning, we'll announce it live here on the Sports Carnival. But I want you to go to the recovery room, get yourself an Absolute or Jameson shot or cocktail, and an entry slip to win those Bucks and Kings tickets.
Terry Sauce was talking about the Lions. Lions beat the Bills up and down the field, but not on the scoreboard. And he's absolutely right, because that's the game that I saw as well. And again, I was kind of in between, going back and forth. And I was triggering a turkey and a ham, and I'm like, what's the score? What happened? So I was doing that all morning long. But I agree with that. From what I saw, it did appear that way. It was really one of those kind of kick in the nuts if you're a Lions fan, because you're like, God, we're doing everything right, but we just can't. The big plays. And really, I mean, Josh Allen threw 2 interceptions, I believe, didn't he?
He threw 1 pick last night.
He
had 1 pick last night, I believe. But the play that Josh Allen made right near the end of the game, which was the clincher, right, for Buffalo, was 2 touches and a pick. The clincher was that huge throw to Stephon Diggs, right down the center of the field.
He had a big game too. Diggs
he
is
had
great.
He had a huge game, and I think Buffalo needed that one bad, because even though they beat Cleveland in Detroit, 4 or 5 days ago, there was some visible tension growing between Diggs and Josh Allen. Actually, Josh Allen, or Stephon Diggs, was on the sidelines last week and kind of talking to Coach McDermott about what he has to do to get the ball. He's like, I'm trying to get open, and you could see the coach for Buffalo sort of settling down. Diggs like, dude, we're working you into the system. Keep being patient. And Stephon ended up having a touchdown last week too. But this was a huge game. And look, this is the separator between Jared Goff and Josh Allen, right? Like when you need that huge elite quarterback play, one team's got that huge, big-armed elite quarterback and the other team just doesn't. But this is where I go back to my original take on yesterday's slate of NFL games. The Patriots and the Vikings, super exciting. Viking fans, I saw a lot of you saying Skull Vikings on social. Awesome. And soak up that win. You're 9-2 right now. This team's going to win the division. But this Detroit Lions team, the more that I watch them week in and week out, the more impressed I'm becoming with how they're playing for their coach. We know that they don't have the horses, right? They weren't even, they were 10-point underdogs against this team, the Buffalo Bills, at home. They were 10-point dogs at home. Yeah. So you know that they don't have the horses. But the fact that they are just within a punch of every one of these single games, if I'm a Lions player, disappointed, yes. But if I'm a coach on that staff, we look at this and we're like, great, we lost the game, but let's look at everything that we did awesome and how we nearly beat a team that coming into the season was the odds-on favorite to win this year's Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Rob Dog saying I'm making an easy prediction for Sunday, saying the Bears lose to the Jets and fall 3-9. Packers lose to the Eagles, become 4-8. I agree on the second one. I think the Eagles will win. Beat the Packers, they will drop to 4-8. I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking the Bears are kind of similar in a lot of ways to the Lions the last couple of weeks, where they're in every game and it seems like they have a possibility of winning, but they just can't pull it out at the end. And with the Jets situation at quarterback and everything, there may be some vulnerability there. I may be wrong. And I'm kind of being an old, Walter Payton fan. I kind of sometimes pull for the Bears as well whenever they're playing a team that I don't care about. And I'm pulling for the Bears against the Jets. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but I'm pulling for them.
Well, the Bears definitely, if they had Justin Fields on the field coming up on Sunday, I would give him a really good shot.
Out? I did not. He's out because of the shoulder,
the non-throwing shoulder. At least right now, it looks very much like he'll be out of that game. But this is where Rob Dog's talking about it here again. He's like, so who's ready for a Trevor Siemian versus Mike White game? Like nobody. But
that's garbage.
Dude, this shows you how bad that kid Zach Wilson fucked himself up in New York, because you're talking about a top 3 pick that as a starter, Chad, has a record of 5-2 and got benched. Not even benched. This dude's inactive coming up this week versus the Bears. That is a hard and a fall down.
Zach Wilson's intro music, his favorite song, Stacy's Mom's Got It Going On. I don't know if you knew that. He's a huge fan of that song.
Zach Wilson, MILF Hunter. He's getting himself cougar steaks for Thanksgiving. All right, boys and girls, stay tuned. We'll be back here in just a minute on the Sports Carnival. Thanks to our friends Kyle Cable, One Trust, Real Estate Preferred Insurance, Midwest Mortgage Team, the O'Neill Law Firm, and Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Stay tuned. Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Just a weekly reminder, it's only a gambling problem if you lose. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
That's real talk right there, Chad. That is real talk, and it reminds me of Wink. Wink Martindale. That was an interesting coaching choice. It reminds me now to bring up the stat that you put on the graphic below us, that just like we fear certain things, gambling is an issue to some, not to most people, but to some people it becomes a real issue, and it can become a phobia. People get scared about it, which is why, ninnies and people that wear their shorts too tight have long told us what to do with their money as grown-ups. But we get scared of things because, we see some people have a problem with them, a lot like shark attacks, right? So people are very scared of sharks. I think that, Jaws did a lot to demonize the great white, make them seem even more ferocious and man-eating than they probably actually are. And you just wanted to remind us with this little, isn't
that amazing?
It's running down the bottom of our screen, that Black Friday shopping has caused more deaths than shark attacks since 2016. Chad, 17 people have died and 125 people have been horrifically injured in the United States on Black Friday. Not to mention the egos, the pocketbooks, the senses of self and self-worth, all of those things which can't be tangentially really counted are probably out there too. This just shows you, right? Sometimes the narrative that you see on TV or what you see on the movies, it isn't actually what the reality is. Black Friday is more dangerous than sharks. I mean, that's real.
Well, there's two things I do. Stay out of the mall and stay out of the water. Problem solved.
Dude, you don't have any sharks up there. You just have to worry about Kraken.
I'm just saying in general, if you don't want to get attacked by a shark, guess what you don't do? Don't get in the water.
It's fair. If
you don't want to get trampled at a mall, don't go to a mall on Black Friday.
My God. And what I find so surprising is that for the most part, the people that will trample you in the mall on Black Friday haven't moved faster than required in so long that it seems like, is there that bottled up energy that just sort of comes? It's kind of like a quick burst from a cheetah or something, right? Can't go the distance a dingo, but can really go fast and hard if they're motivated.
The other thing that can happen is you can get ran over by one of those 3-wheel carts for some of the fat people that drive around on the Target at the Target and the Walmart.
Ugh.
So that's the other problem. I think that's been lessened a lot. We kind of already talked about this. What we mentioned though is online shopping has done wonders to the longevity of man, because you don't have to wait in line. You don't have to fight somebody. You can just go online from your home, continue to eat your Cheetos, and do all your shopping right there. It's actually it's genius. It's absolutely genius. And I am guilty. I did some Black Friday shopping yesterday, bought some silver. Should be here next week. Pretty excited about it. I may buy some slippers. I may buy some slippers tonight.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't plan on doing any more Black Friday shopping.
The thing that's catching me right now for Black Friday shopping is this 65-inch TCL Roku TV at Walmart for $229. Now, what do I need with another TV? Nothing. Like there, I don't.
5 inches for $229.
65 for $229 at Walmart. I know it's almost hard to pass up, right? Because the TV now weighs probably 66 less pounds than it did even 5 years ago when I bought my 65-inch. And I start to think about that. Should I really look at buying a new 65-inch? The one that I have, I never watch. That's the other problem, though.
Then the answer is no.
Well, see, that's the thing. I've got like 8 or 9 TVs, but I see something like that, and my instinct as a man, as a shopper,
I got you,
tells me to go and buy that TV, because for this price, it almost feels like, it's almost like when you're gambling, which we're going to go into more. And like you mentioned about Keno, it's not about the money that you lost. It's about the money that you didn't win. It's not about the TVs that you have. It's about the TV for $229 that you don't have.
Yes.
And that gives me FOMO, which I've really started to find out about myself is a big problem. So I've got like a couple of things. Fear of missing out for me is huge. Like I can see how that drives me in so many different ways. And when I see something like that pop up on Walmart, I'm like, oh God, think about how good that Packers loss is going to look on this TV on Sunday. I mean, Jesus.
That's a shot right there. That's a post-Thanksgiving shot to all you Packers fans out there. But we all know it's true. Anybody that's romanticizing or fantasizing about the broken thumb, what could have been, because you can't. I actually came up with a thing, and I was going to produce it, but it just didn't seem like it landed. But I'm going to say the tagline: you can't point the finger at a broken thumb.
Ooh.
I had this whole thing, and I thought it was funny, and then I came into a different state of mind later and listened to it, and I'm like, I don't think it's worth it. But I still think it's a good tagline. And that's what I saw with this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. And it's something that you called early on. Is he going to blame an injury for it? And that's exactly what's going on here. It's like, we're 4-7, but I had a broken thumb the whole year. I just thought I'd tell you now. But if it was 7-4, I might not have said anything.
Well, what I thought was super interesting, because yesterday over at P1 Breacher's house for Thanksgiving, and again, thanks so much for having us, dude. It was awesome. But I asked him that very same thing. So surprisingly, or I asked him, Jason, were you surprised to see that Rodgers is now calling injury? Because I, of course, wasn't. And Jason's like, no, I'm not surprised. Here's the thing that I think is, look, as you're dissecting this injury, this broken thumb, I just want you to keep this in mind. Okay, this is a horrible injury for Rodgers, a broken thumb. This is bad. This is why the Packers are not winning. Obviously, subterfuge here, but this is why they're not winning. But it's not bad enough for him to have surgery during the season or after the season. Won't need any of that, because it's not that bad, but it's really so bad that we can't win football games. You know what? Fuck that. That is the lamest excuse I have ever heard. Maybe at least one of the least excuses I've ever heard. It does, though, offer you, if you're the Green Bay Packers front office, if you're the Green Bay Packers coaching staff, if you're the medical staff, this does offer you a perfect out, though. Because if you're telling me that you're injured, not hurt, but injured, where your injury is actually costing us the ability to win football games, which is that determiner, right? We'll play you hurt until you start costing us football games, and then you got to sit down because somebody else at 100% of whatever they are is better than you at 80% of you, even if your talent is overwhelming, okay? If Rodgers is injured, this gives the Packers an opportunity to pull his ass and say, good, we've got to see what Love can do, because then again, you still operate you still operate under this auspices. We're trying to win, but he's injured, and then you can get your good draft pick. You just go ahead and tank out the rest of the season. See what happens with Love. Who knows? Maybe this kid pops. Maybe the Packers go to 7-10 at the end of the season. If Green Bay finishes this year at 7-10, I will be fucking like categorically happy. I'm not shocked, but I will be happy with a 7-10 season. And if Jordan Love gets to play, maybe that's just what the thumb doctor ordered.
Do you think it's more of a storyline from the team or a storyline from Aaron Rodgers? So, so what I'm hearing you say here, and I agree, I don't disagree with it. I'm just making sure that I understand, because I kind of interpreted it more of coming from the Aaron Rodgers camp, explaining away why his season isn't going that well and why they're losing. But you're seeing it more, and you could play it either way, right? As the team saying, hey, he's injured, and this is an offshoot. This is an off-ramp for us to bring Jordan Love in, which I think is a smart idea, considering they're going to owe him $20 million in a year. They have no idea what this guy can do. This would be a good opportunity to bring him in. I'm not saying they do it against the Eagles. Who knows? But sooner rather than later, we're going to see Jordan Love on the field, and this gives Green Bay kind of an easy way to do that. Which one do you see that being more of?
So I see it as I see it kind of like this. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. Okay. Aaron Rodgers goes on the Pat McAfee show, right? With Silent J. AJ Hawk. And he was talking about, he has to come up with his weekly excuses, right? That has to be the thing. It's first of all, it's not the wide receivers are horrible. We need to stop giving these guys reps because they're just bad. They're so bad. It's just bad. And I'm good and they're bad. So we got to give them their job to somebody else. Now you go on Pat McAfee and you get to tell them about your broken thumb. I think this is a Rodgers telling you that it's broken, not broken enough to get surgery now or ever, of course, because that seems to be a thing. But then if you're the Green Bay Packers, you look at that and seize that opportunity and say, you know what, man, I'm glad that you disclosed this to us. Maybe the Packers team has known all along, but in the interest of saving, I don't know what, for Aaron Rodgers to be able to come out and use this later on, but in the interest of saving that, maybe they knew. Either way, you can look at this as an opportunity. If you're the Packers, you can say, well, great, you are injured. This is an injury. We have to protect our investment. We owe you $100 million more, Aaron. We're going to have to sit you down. And what if he says, no, who cares? He's your fucking player. Okay. If he doesn't like it, so what? I mean, I wonder how much Joe Montana liked moving to Kansas City, fucking Missouri from San Francisco.
He does like the barbecue there.
Sure.
So
great.
There was a plus there.
Yeah, great. Do you think that was the happiest day on his calendar? It's like, oh, no. I get to move from San Francisco to Missouri. Like, this is great. I'm so excited about this. No, of course not. You're fucking extremely upset.
Rob Dog's just crapping everywhere. This is great. Yeah, Trevor Siemian versus Jordan Love next week.
Dude,
oh my God.
That's going to be the first Bears-Packers tie in a number of years. It'll go down like 3-3 or something in overtime.
That could actually happen.
It could.
Actually happen. Well, I mean, I kind of think we see it the same way. So basically what you're saying is this is an Aaron Rodgers story, and now Green Bay Packers they're gonna use it against him. Or they're gonna use it to their advantage, which I think is the smart play. I think both of them are looking for a way to again, take the off ramp, make the switch. Nobody's feelings are hurt. No one's ego is crushed. It just becomes a natural, organic, or seemingly organic kind of transformation into the Jordan Love era. All we need is Love, I guess, until next season, because this season is over with. They're going to lose to the Eagles. Obviously, if Justin Fields is out, they have a better shot if Aaron Rodgers is playing when they play the Bears the following week. But if Fields is out and Love is in and Rodgers is out, that's going to be oh my God, that's going to be a brutal game to watch.
Well, yeah, it won't be fun to watch. And I think right now, if you went on to StubHub or something, you could probably get like the Packers or Bears to pay you to go to these games. I think they're looking for seat fillers at this point. It's going to be cold as shit too, which is another thing that you have to think about. Right now, it's nice. We have a nice week, but by the time the Packers and Bears play, it's going to be in like the teens, maybe even the low teens. Look, this season for like the Packers and Packer fans is something that we've been talking about for 5 or 6 weeks. It has been over. And really, once you saw the losses pile up to the Jets, the Giants, you kind of got the idea that this is over. I go back to this, though. If, in fact, Aaron Rodgers is injured, not hurt, because that's something every NFL player is right now. Everybody's hurt. But if he is injured, You do, if you're the Packers, you have that right to say, we're not going to play you. Like, that's your right. Aaron doesn't run the Packers. And if he does, that's another failure on Green Bay's part. He shouldn't be able to tell you when he's going to play. And if you are, in fact, injured, look at the record, guys. This isn't like a team that's 9-2, right? The Minnesota Vikings, where you're really having to contemplate, boy, if we sit this guy down, we could unravel the momentum of the season. I don't know that you could in any way prove that Jordan Love would be any worse at this point than Aaron Rodgers. And I went back and forth with one of our audience members, Jeff Schneider, the other day, and he was talking about Rodgers and these stats. That's the same thing that Joe DeGuado was talking about. The stats for Rodgers are really misleading because his completion percentage, his yards, his touchdowns, it does not tell the story of anything. And even
you gotta watch the games. You got to watch the games.
You have to. And you have to perform in the big moments. Aaron Rodgers against the Titans couldn't do what Josh Allen for the Bills did yesterday. He couldn't put the Packers in a position to win a football game when it was there to be had. He couldn't do it. He could play good for 3 quarters, and he couldn't do it in the 4th. And this isn't something that Rodgers is necessarily new at doing, not coming up clutch. The big games that Rodgers has really won, these magnificent big comeback games, most of them are against the teams like the Lions, the Bears, and then you've got a Cowboys game, right? Those are like the big games in his career in which he's come back. If he's got a broken thumb, which he says he does, he still can't win a game in the 4th quarter. What are you losing by putting Jordan Love in? I mean, really, what are you losing?
You know what the difference between Aaron Rodgers and a dollar bill is? You can get 4 quarters out of a dollar bill.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest Mortgage Team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, we all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest Mortgage Team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest Mortgage Team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ services featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cockhold parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Back the action live from the Trauma Center studios. This is the one and only Sports Carnival. Only in America will people trample each other for sales just one day after being thankful for what they already have. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Black Friday shopping. That is definitely not for the faint of heart. If you're going out today to engage in copious amounts of consumerism, just remember that Chad has correctly pointed out that since 2006, Black Friday has killed more Americans than shark attacks. That's since 2006. Now, prior to 2006, we had a hot couple of decades for shark deaths. So the sharks had really gotten us for a couple of decades, but Black Friday roared back in 2006, has been holding the mantle ever since then. So our good buddy Matty over at the Recovery Room, who you mentioned Walter Payton as being your favorite player, Sweetness, right? Yeah. One of the 2 guys that you love. So Matt's got history with Walter Payton, like I don't know exactly what his familial connection to the Bears was. His grandfather worked for the Bears, so he got an opportunity quite a few times to be up close and personal with Walter Payton and his family. And I know that was one of those seminal times in his life. So he's a Bears fan. And he says this: Bears versus Jets this weekend, Trevor Siemian versus Mike White. Oof. Yep. We've been talking about that, Matty. It's one of those games in which you don't really look at, unless you're a Bears or a Jets fan, with much interest, unless, Chad, perhaps you're into like sports gambling. Because if you're into sports gambling, all of these things can become interesting, right? Like there's a way to get yourself interested into a game or on a game that would literally hold no interest for you. If you've got juice, if you've got some action, if you got a couple of ducats, if there's some dollars on the line, then you spice yourself up for it. And to that end, we got some big news here, baby. Starting next week, we're so tickled about this. We are just like so tickled about this.
Tickled, literally
tickled in all the right ways and probably some of the wrong ways. we're going to be an official partner of BetUS, America's favorite sports book offshore betting site since 1994. Chad, BetUS was the first of these big online interactive offshore betting sites that was given folks in the United States of America the freedom to spend their money the way that they want to, when they want to, live in-game bettings, sports book, casino. There is so much that we're going to roll out here with BetUS. A lot of our audience members are familiar with BetUS from my previous job here in the area. I want to let you guys know, though, we're going to have all new promo codes. We're going to have all new ways to get you signed up, and we're going to have all new spiffs. BetUS is working with us in a really big way. We've been trying to put this together for a while, Chad, and we just got the word actually yesterday on Thanksgiving that this is something that we were going to be able to do.
Something to be thankful for.
Dude, I was so excited last night when I texted you. I finally got the information sent back to us. I texted you and I was like, brother, we got this thing. We're locked and loaded. And there's going to be so many different ways in which you're going to be able to participate with the show through BetUS. I can't wait to give you details. Again, we're sort of just working through this now. We've got a lot to put together in the next 72 hours or so. But by Monday, we're going to have everything worked out, and we'll give you guys the full thrust of what we're doing with BetUS. Needless to say, as a guy who loves sports betting, and I don't have a problem with this because I do it safe. I know how to, put together a bankroll. You don't bet more than you should. This to me is like the height of just all sorts of fun. This is about as fun as it gets working with the company like BetUS.
Well, speaking of gambling, Joey Miller says the Packers will upset the Eagles on Sunday night. Okay,
yeah, showing up.
Put some money on it. Let's put some money on it, Joey. Let's see that happen. I want to. I'll take that bet all day.
Well, Joey's also probably going to lay his week's pay down on Denver against Carolina, which is going to be one of the worst moves of the week, dude. Denver's now a point favorite on the road versus Carolina, who fired their entire coaching staff, has gone through 3 quarterbacks this year. They traded their best player in Christian McCaffrey, and basically it's gone to a pick'em game. That's how bad the Denver Broncos are. And Joey, the prediction here for Packers upsetting the Eagles, if the Green Bay Packers upset the Philadelphia Eagles, that would shock the world. That's not a Dallas team, though. That's not a Dallas game. You're not playing against Mike McCarthy and those dudes. The Eagles are a real football team. That's going to be tough.
Yes. Okay. He says, I'll send the bet slip. Okay.
Cool. Well,
I'll take that action all day long.
Joey, next week when we tell you what the new code is, the new promo code, you're going to have to sign back up with BetUS. All right. You're going to have to do this. I know Joey's using this parlay picks right now, which is awesome. And I'm glad that you are. But Joey, you're going to have to sign back up with us on BetUS, because that way, brother, we'll go toe to toe and we'll show each other what our slips look like. Chad, you and I are going to be, I think we're going to be, as much as we possibly can, fully into the transparency aspect of this, right? We might not show exactly what we're betting, the amounts on each and every game, because I don't want to, give people the wrong idea, but we'll show you exactly what we're playing, what we're betting, what we're winning, and what we're losing. And then I put together a 3-team 6-point teaser on Wednesday. Got a little backed up, got a little busy, didn't put together a video. We talked about it here on the show, but I put together a 3-team 6-point teaser. You and I were actually doing this together when we concluded the program on Wednesday morning. I took the Cowboys, the Giants game, with the Giants plus 10 points, added that to plus 16. That obviously came in. I didn't even need to tease that. They only lose by 8. I took the Lions plus 10, added 6 onto that. Again, didn't need to even tease it. The Lions easily covered that, almost won straight up. And then on Sunday, Joey, I took the Carolina Panthers at the time plus 2.5, added 6 onto that. So now I've got the Panthers plus 8.5. Chad, as the line continues to move down closer to a straight pick'em game, the play that I made on Wednesday, it's looking pretty good, because I'm getting 2.5 extra points now that I might not even get by the end of this evening.
I like that play as well. A couple of games that I'm looking at currently are college games, the ones I'm most interested in. And this may be a bad call, and maybe I get emotional about some of these things because I hate Ohio State. But I like Michigan. I like them getting 7.5. I know they're in the horseshoe. I know this is going to be a tough game. I know it's a rivalry. I know that it's a payback game for Ohio State. But I see 7.5 points, and I see Michigan, Ohio State. I know that's going to be a great game. I know it's going to be tough, but that's just juicy to me. Then the other game that I really like is Notre Dame USC. I like, again, this is emotional because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I get plus at 5.5 Fighting Irish. I like the total. I going over 64.5.
We also like you mentioned this one to me as well. South Carolina, Clemson. You got South Carolina plus 14.5. Clemson right now, one of the better teams in the ACC, but South Carolina just hung it on Tennessee. Now I know that
3 to 38. Yeah,
indeed. I know that Tennessee's quarterback tore his ACL, which is terrible, but South Carolina, real team. The Notre Dame versus USC game, that's one that I'm circling right now. This is going to be a play. We were supposed to have John Denton on this morning. John ended up getting busy with a tournament that one of his daughters is playing in, so we'll talk to John next week. But this is a game that John and I had circled as well because USC right now is being way overvalued after winning against UCLA close. Yeah. I mean, it was a barn burner. Not that UCLA is not good, but the two best games for USC this year are against Washington and against the Bruins now. Conversely, Notre Dame, while they're not necessarily, listen, Brian Kelly isn't there anymore, so they had a new coach. They started off a little rough, okay? Notre Dame's playing some of the best defense in all of college football right now. The last time that USC faced the kind of defense that they did, their quarterback, Caleb Williams, struggled mightily and completed just 8 passes. I like the Irish in this one, plus 5.5. The total on this, 64.5. I think you could actually see this game going under. I don't know that this is going to be the barn burner because USC's running back is also injured. He's out now. So I just don't know. USC starts off great. They put up a lot of points in the first half. They're one of the better first half scoring teams.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame's defense could muddy this up. Now, the Michigan-Ohio State game, I go against this one. I think Ohio State at home after Michigan beat Ohio State last year in Michigan. This one back at Ohio State is
let's go back to that the USC Notre Dame game. So Notre Dame beat Boston College in the snow 44-0 the week before, so they can put up points. USC has garbage defense, and I agree with you. Notre Dame's defense is going to be tougher against Caleb Williams, but I still think USC puts up points. That's why I like the over in this game.
Okay, and 64.5 is not outrageous. What was it last week against UCLA? The total was 90-something.
90-something. Yeah, it was like 90-something. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was probably the best game of the year as far as I was concerned. I mean, I love good defense, but I love watching prolific offense even more, and that's why they gear all of the rules towards offense, because that's what people really like to watch. But and then I have one more game that I would like to mention. It's in the NFL, and this is kind of like your fade the Lakers, fade the Raiders all year long. I like the Seahawks giving up 3.5 points over the Raiders at home. So they're at home. Yeah. I think they're going to kick their ass personally.
I think that's a really good play. I made money on the Raiders last week. I took them on the money line. I also took them plus the points against Denver, the Broncos, the only other team right now in the NFL that I think is categorically less capable of winning football games than the Raiders, the Denver Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett's going to be fired at the end of this year for sure, because he had to give up
this week.
I mean, if not this week. So Clint Kubiak took over the play calling duty. That's Gary Kubiak's son. Yeah. Nathaniel Hackett's no longer doing that. They had to hire, I think, somebody from Applebee's to come in and talk about the team and being like pepped up, like, you know, how much different flair were you wearing?
The ribs are delicious at Applebee's, by the way.
They really are. Applebee's gets a little it's underrated. Okay, sometimes. I want to answer Joey Miller's question though here.
Good
Joey,
question. Good question.
This is a good question. So why are the Jags only 3-point dogs versus the Ravens? Well, currently they're 3.5-point dogs. There are a couple of reasons. One, Joey, they're at home. So what you're seeing right now is, opposed to the Jags being what would normally happen, being a 3-point favorite at home, this actually looks like a Baltimore 6.5-point line, okay? Because you give the home team a 3-point advantage mostly. What it really looks like is Baltimore minus 6.5. But there's another thing here too. One of Baltimore's offensive tackles, I want to say it was Ronnie Staley last week, got a little injured. Lamar Jackson actually kind of hurt his own offensive lineman. So a little bit of that comes into play. Also, the Baltimore Ravens have been playing. They've been winning games, but they've been winning close games, especially recently.
Jacksonville's been losing close games.
They have. And that's why, Joey, to answer your question, it looks like the Jags are just 3.5-point dogs right now. I don't think this game will be that close. I really don't, because the book is really showing you they think Baltimore's a 6.5-point favorite. But that said, Jacksonville, like you mentioned, Chad, losing close, you know, they'll figure it out eventually. I think that kid, Trevor Williams, he'll be okay, or whatever his name is. What's the kid's name that quarterbacks Jacksonville?
Joey Lawrence.
Whoa, yeah, I forget him because he's in
Trevor Lawrence. Or no,
it's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
he'll be fine at some point. They've got a good coach, but Baltimore's a little too much for him right now. All right, guys and gals, have a great rest of your weekend. This felt like a weird Monday. Thank you, Chad, a.k.a. Whoa, Joey. And to all of those that support us, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, Preferred Insurance, my buddies Tony and Brian, Midwest Mortgage Team, the Coos, and of course, Mike Garcia, who, boy, we fucking cut a rug the other night, Mike. The Trauma Center Studios, powered by the Recovery Room, of course, the O'Neill Law Firm for when we get ourselves in trouble, and Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping. See you guys on Monday. We'll talk more BetUS stuff, too. Bye.
Don't forget about Hey Duda DJ services either. What's up, Hey Duda?